And I do believe we're live.
That we are.
We are.
Marvelous.
So, hello everyone. Happy October and welcome to the 710 Cast, a weekly stream where three furry gearheads talk all things cars, boats, trains, planes, and hopefully keep you entertained for an hour. My name is Tamarack, the pilot fox who just broke 200 hours of stick time this weekend, and I'm playing host this week. Shut up. With me are my other two hosts, fellow Fox and Australia desk, Kaji, who has yet to explain to us how trains manage to stay on the rails while upside down. Say hello.
It's something to do with G in the equation, mu times F times G. But anyway.
Hashtag flat earth.
No.
No.
I don't live in South America. It's Australia. It's a real place.
You're sucking up that sweet NASA payroll.
Yeah, the old Soros bucks.
And also Eli, our resident desert dog, and fur behind the curtain running the stream. Say hello.
Hello. I have lots of fun sliders here. I promise not to touch too many buttons. Maybe.
Touch them more.
So if you're watching this replay on YouTube, thanks for taking us for a spin. But if you'd like to join us live, we do this every week on Twitch, Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific here in the United States, and whatever time that is in Australia.
Right now, we're starting at midday during daylight savings in Australian Eastern Standard Time. So specifically AEDST.
Those are some numbers. We are at twitch.tv/the710cast. Links to the Twitch channel, Twitter, Discord, and the mailbag will be in the description. We'd love to hear from you. Please drop us a line.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we discussed some car segments that have fallen prey to market forces and begun to disappear. This week, we'll be discussing cars that have stereotypes and reputations, and whether or not we think they're deserved. We'll talk some project updates and a bit of news, and near the end, we'll open it up for some questions if we get some folks in the live audience. But before we get to any of that, let's go around the table and see what everyone's been up to this week. Who would like to start?
Well, I'll happily start. Why not? I've just got done organizing flights to the United States and specifically to the Southeast so that I can get some more work done on my Mustang.
Very cool.
The undisclosed car in the undisclosed location.
Yes. Oh boy, flights are expensive. They've kicked up about, unfortunately for me, they kicked up about $800, $900 between when I started looking and when I finally committed. But thankfully, I'm flying with the airline with which I've got premier preferred status. So I will at least get 2 big bags for free, which means I can take more stuff and pay less for it.
Cool. So that means you're going to be able to stow away an HSP for me on that flight, right?
Yeah, Glenny's one.
There you go.
Yeah. You know, you could always buy an airplane and hire me, and I will fly you anywhere around the globe.
It's slightly more expensive that way.
Nonsense.
That'll all come out in the wash. It's fine.
How about you, Yotie? What have you been up to this week?
There's not a whole lot to report on the car front, at least on my personal. The 4Runner is still running like a top and doing its thing. I have been
Toyota stuff?
Well, yes. I have been as ever, and as a lot of us car guys always tend to do, I hop on, Auto Tempest, Auto Trader, all the normal rags, and search through and say, here is my, budget. Here's where I have to be in order to do financing. What can I afford? What's cool out there? What could I feasibly get right now? And there have been a couple of cool options that come up. Like most recently, I think I was talking about it before the show. There was a Focus RS under 100,000 miles, and it was in my price range, which is weird for those. It made me wonder what was wrong with it. Also, another one that is gaining more notoriety, and it's one of those, if you're thinking about it, jump on it before they get more popular because people are starting to recognize them again. The Taurus
Ford Flex
SHO.
Limited.
And yeah, that too.
Yes.
That one's going to be even more obscure than the SHO. Which actually may lean more credence as to why it should be bought. Outside of that, not a whole lot. I may be adopting a couple of free toolboxes because I helped a buddy clean out his garage, and we uncovered as not a surprise. He knew it was there, but we actually got to get first decent eyes on it. This is a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am Turbo, which is it's an interesting little nugget of a thing. It's clearly been retaped. It's definitely a 40-foot car. It's got some mad wavy Bondo down at the bottom, but it's not terrible. So we'll probably be tearing into that eventually when we all have free time and money. But that's all I got.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
I will, believe me. I should have taken some the first time. I did not. That was my bad.
Shame on you.
Yeah. I already have plenty enough shame. You don't have to add any extra.
And I guess that leaves me.
Yep.
So for those of you who have been watching us for a while, you might remember back a few weeks ago when I said this.
Hold up, my computer has to think. It's running a lot of stuff right now. Forgive it.
No.
Meanwhile, my bike is so British that it apparently got depressed over the passing of the Queen because it started acting up with a weird cold start idle, and it hesitates from a standing stop so hard I almost dropped it in the middle of a turn. So the shop is 2 weeks out for service, so I'm waiting to get it in there, and hopefully it's not too expensive, and hopefully this isn't foreshadowing. Meanwhile, my bike... Well, it turns out that was very much foreshadowing. They picked it up this last week and brought it in and told me in the middle of the week it was ready to go. 248 Freedom Eagles later, including the pickup service, they said that the ECU calibration was incorrect. Odd because they flashed it this spring, but whatever. And the throttle bodies were out of sync. They said it was fixed. It is not. I rode it home Saturday, and it was a bit funky. They told me the ECU adaptives would need to relearn. I took them at their word. I took it for a ride today, and the shenanigans were nothing too terrible, until halfway through the ride where it got worse. It was breaking up hard under a load, and the RPMs are hanging when the throttle is closed, resulting in no engine braking. And it just feels generally sketchy and unhappy and unsafe. So I cut the ride short, limped it home, parked it, and will not be riding it again until it's looked at.
Sad, but also probably for the best. I mean, especially on a bike, safety comes first.
Yep. And since things that I say on this stream seem to come back to bite me later, I'll say this for posterity. Marker. I've sent them an email detailing the issues, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them a chance to make it right. Stay tuned.
We will all be sitting on the edges of our seats.
We're paid for the whole thing, though.
But you'll only need the edge. So, with that news out of the way, let us get to some other news, shall we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and pop onto our news segment for the day.
Yes, so I will summarize. The state of New York in the United States is following in California's footsteps and has pledged to ban the sale of new, that is new, gasoline and diesel internal combustion engines by the year 2035. This does not mean that you can't own or buy a used gas or diesel. It just means you won't be able to buy them new. Everything will be required to be battery or fuel cell electrics or plug-in hybrids with at least 50 miles of electric-only range. So, is this a bad thing? I say no. Most enthusiasts don't buy new vehicles off the showroom floor, so before you get your fur all ruffled and bare your fangs, this does not apply to you. You can still have your fun stuff and it will still exist, and hopefully it will force the manufacturers to create affordable alternative fuel vehicles for the rest of us and spur research and innovation. There will still be a car hobby, it's just going to change. And that's okay.
Yeah, One of the other things I think this prompts too is a little bit more recognition of the fact that public transport can exist in smaller areas. We don't need something like 400,000 population just to get a bus system running. I've seen it right across the US. Everywhere I visited, a whole bunch of towns which would have a pretty robust bus network if they were here in Australia, having absolutely nothing and requiring me to rent a car in order to get around them in the United States. I'm hoping that this kind of helps push that. And before you go, oh, but I don't want to drive it because I wanted to take the bus. Be aware that buses being in your area means that less people are driving. That's good
so
for
you can drive more.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, you're looking also right now at 2 states in which they're major metropolis. I'm not as familiar with SoCal and their public transport systems, but I am very, very intimately familiar with NorCal. I know the MARTA and Caltrain system like the back of my hand. I used to commute on it daily from San Jose up into the city proper.
Let's go Shark.
Yeah.
Hockey season is starting soon. Fox is excited. So is the shop dog.
Go Kraken.
That's
Fuck
a
off.
short ride from Diridon.
But no, I mean, especially San Francisco with as robust of a system it has the light rail, it also has Caltrain, it also has the MARTA, it has many, many different options. It has a great bus network.
BART, not MARTA.
BART, that's right. MARTA's Atlanta. I get my cities mixed up because...
Which in and of itself I can speak to is a wonderful system anyway.
MARTA is also a great system.
MARTA.
Yeah, it's a really good system. But again, New York, your major... Like, one of the most stereotypical things you see about New York is, okay, there's a subway system, and occasionally crazy things happen on New York subways, but also that if you ever go up to street level, yes, there are cabs, but it's always bumper to bumper and honking. So, yeah.
Shout out to you in New York City.
Yeah. Again, still not really much of a desire to go up that area of the country. No offense to any New Yorkers. I know you're already mad anyways. I don't mean to make you more so.
Been there, done that.
But yeah, no, I can agree. I would say that, yeah, okay, you're not going to get new cars. Like yeah. You're not going to get any new gas-powered cars. At the same time, it's not going to be a thing of, I mean, I doubt they're going to have their Secretary of State or their local authority, whoever is the issuing tags, they're either not going to have the ability to, or it would be very, very dubious and probably very heavily challenged. If you were to say, I don't know, hey, New York doesn't want to sell me this brand new car that's gas-powered? Okay, I'll go across an state line, use still my same bank, get this new car off the showroom, and then drive it home. So,
because they can't tell you can't buy it.
Precisely. Will it require more work? Yes, but if you want a gas-powered car after that point, if you have to have it, then... yeah, you can probably find ways around it. It's just going to hurt a little more.
Even if it's the case that you have to wait until the model year expires, like, who cares?
Yeah. There will be loopholes for those hardcore, and for those that are so hardcore that you're going to go through all those loops, why?
And I do hear the same panic in the aviation industry with the upcoming movement to ban 100-octane low-lead aviation fuel and in favor of 100-octane low lead or no lead. So yes, folks, those little GA planes buzzing over your head are still using tetraethyl lead. The gas is blue, and it's very bad for you.
Yes.
Things are changing, but it will be fine.
Man, lead-powered... one of the things they really need to do as well is start looking at racing fuels in the United States, in which lead is also still permitted, which baffles me.
Well, heavy metals are good for you.
Apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, our
it's
message
still
to
in some of our paint. Ha.
Wall candy, yay. But yes, our message to the enthusiast community is don't panic, don't get mad. These laws only affect new cars and they don't affect you because you're not buying new cars to modify. You're mostly buying used.
Meanwhile, I'm waiting for people to start modifying electric stuff.
Oh, that's coming for sure.
That's going to be exciting.
They're already doing it visually, and admittedly, some of the Teslas that I've seen people do some visual tweaks to look darn good.
There are some real geeks in the Bay Area sort of spots, Austin as well, who are going ham at changing stuff like motor controllers, battery, discharge
And
ramps.
adding lightness.
Adding lightness sometimes. I'm more talking about specifically changing the way they work. Adding lightness is always a valid option, but like they're changing everything from the power curve application to changing drive units. Again, making the batteries able to dump more power, even though it's a bit sketchy. It's the Wild West. I'm looking forward to this shit.
Because lithium-ion batteries totally don't have an issue with starting on fire. Shout out to Samsung users.
And on that note.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, Dad. So, shall we talk about our feature?
We should jump right on into it. This is going to be a fun, ranty little bit of time here.
Yeah. Buckle in, everyone. There will be opinions.
Oh, no.
Ugh.
So, our OS desk has elected to bat first. So, Kaji, what have you brought us?
I brought us two. One is a car that doesn't deserve the reputation it gets, and one is one that I'll give it to it every day.
And so which one are you starting out with? Yeah?
Our smaller friends.
Smaller friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with the prime example or the
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, so
Subaru.
Right. So,
super rude.
Every time
woo.
someone thinks about a GC8 WRX, they think of this. Now, don't get me wrong, I like some of these parts. But the fact of the matter is, people think of them like this, dumped on their guts, with about 5 degrees of negative camber, with ridiculous amounts of sound coming out of the car that aren't involved in the engine. And usually large clouds that aren't coming from either the underbonnet or exhaust, but from the windows.
Vape Nation.
That's vape clouds for those of you playing at home.
They smell like pastries, but there are no pastries around.
I feel personally attacked.
You and your cloud of lies.
Of note,
yes.
that particular example of Subaru would stop every car show in the United States.
Oh, don't get me wrong. A lot of those parts are very expensive. Would you mind showing that other example, by the way?
The clean?
No. The grey one.
Oh, the gray one, yes. One moment.
No, not the nice one.
I'm working on it. Don't
I know.
hate me for it.
Everyone pet the coyote in the chat.
I deserve them and you can't prove otherwise.
Now, this is more like what you'd see. Front bumper hanging off around the world intercooler, no fog lamps because the mounts rusted and they couldn't be bothered replacing them. Subaru badge the wrong size. Cheap plastic headlights. Plastic copies of Ganadors. No, they're not real Ganadors. Plastic replacement side skirts that haven't been painted because that's a 2000 and it should have painted side skirts. And wheels that are too big, meaning that the rear guards have had to be pooched out and it rubs on the front ones, which is why it keeps tugging its bumper off.
Oh, let's not ignore the aftermarket wing mirrors too there.
Oh, they're the Ganadors.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, you got him. No radio antenna anymore either.
Nope, and your front bonnets.
I'd still drive
not
it.
the same color as everything else, which is usually not a great sign.
I would drive it.
Still drive it.
Only so that I could get it home to a garage and start getting the roll-off dumpster nearby because I'm taking out a lot of stuff.
Oh, for
Not
sure.
to mention it's got the wrong seats. But anyway, let's leave that for a moment. That is how people still see WRXs,
Yes.
especially here. If you would.
To the clean.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't a preview.
That's proper.
Yes, that's well done.
Go. This is a standard car, albeit it's an STI, but let's not worry about that. This is what they're starting to all look like again, because quite frankly, they're not cheap anymore. It used to be a GC8 WRX was what you got if you wanted a little bit rally bred performance, because there were lots of them and they were cheap. They are no longer cheap. As a result, a lot of the people who had them with a around the world intercooler and fake Ganadors and an STI scoop made out of fiberglass that they didn't even bother painting, have sold them to people who are hunting up genuine parts and putting these back together.
And making them just look handsome again. I think that front grille looks way more handsome with it in there than with any modification, anything else done, gone, missing, whatever.
Rice and mesh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I can speak to that a little bit, because when I built my WRX, I built it in a very OEM plus manner. And I always enjoyed when it would get the second look. People would walk right by it and then stop and turn around and go, wait, that's not stock.
That was always my favorite thing with my Sylvia, because it had a few extra modifications, just a little bit lower, a little bit wider. And as a result, people would just be like, oh. And it was all I wanted. I like cars that, if you're going to do custom, you've got to go all the way for me. And as a result, stuff like that WRX with its all the afternoon jobs on it just doesn't do it for me. But
So you'd say this one does deserve its reputation?
This one does not deserve its reputation, because none of them are that around the world intercooler, fake Ganador, vape, windows full of vape car anymore. They're disappearing quickly, either because they're off the road because they're simply too old to keep running in a bad state, or they've been bought by a more conscientious buyer who's returning them to this.
Which, good on him.
Yeah. The days of the sex spec WRX are over. Long live the sex spec WRX.
Oh, the entire thing. I can
I love
appreciate
that one
the work that would go into some of those sex spec cars. And if you're not familiar with sex spec cars, just go watch the first Fast and Furious movie. Done.
If you want a real good example, look up the Osman brother WRXs from the auto salons here in Australia. They did everything like converted one to a convertible, a two-door convertible. They converted one to center drive, like the steering wheel in the middle.
Ew.
It was wild. They just did everything. But yes, those days are over, and these cars are coming back. You can buy them looking just like this, and I'm very happy for that.
With the door ding.
Hold on, I just have to torture our... Yeah, I mean, I saw that too. I just chose to let it be. So I went and searched.
Oh, God.
Why?
No.
Why?
Why is there a tiger?
Because why not?
Doesn't exist anymore.
Why is it green?
I like that green. These...
Oh, no. Oh, no. And it, go back one. It has the stuffed tiger plush on the roof.
On top, of course. With
Hey,
the mirrors down below.
Yeah. If you go forward to the next one with the interior, you can see another one of their cars in the background. See, there's the Ute.
Oh, yeah, the Ute. There it is, the orange.
Yeah.
Ew.
That was not completed off a wagon. That was built off a sedan.
It's so
they put
terrible.
a lot of work into their cars.
They
And they are the
admittedly
whole
did.
package. Like, they made huge power.
Well, at least they actually did
Like-
make power, but everything else about them
yeah.
weighed them down.
There's
They
no
were in-
accounting for taste.
Oh, no.
No.
They were in the mid-thousands, but they were making like 350, 400 kilowatt at the wheels. They were wild.
Respectable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with the Subarus covered,
Let's go.
Oh, Yotie, you or me? Let's go.
I'll take first.
Go ahead.
I don't think this is going to be... This is something that it does deserve the opinion that it's garnered from people. It does deserve the reputation that the drivers have given it. And I want to preface this with, this is not the cars. This is the people that drive these cars. The cars certainly help that. In fact, they even inspire it in some cases. But for me, it's on the bougier side of performance. So if you see something like one of those...
Ooh.
If you see that in traffic, that is going to drive one of two ways. That is going to drive respectfully in the, I don't have to flex because I know what I am. Or, more than likely, they're going to be driving like complete and utter asshats. Cutting people off, not using turn signals.
What even are stop signs?
What even are stop signs? Oh, hey, am I doing 10 miles over the speed limit and still being tailgated? Wow, must be one of these stupid things. Like, every single one of these, and there are multiple cars. I'm covering multiple makes here, but I'm talking about, you see them, you know exactly what you're dealing with. You're just like, oh, I have to deal with, I'm just getting out of the way because I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, the prestige mobiles.
Exactly.
You forgot the Ram pickup that fills your rearview mirror.
Oh, that's a rant for another day. Yeah, that's a rant for another day.
That's a different flavor. There's no prestige there. They're just angry.
Yeah.
The Tesla, by the way, you just kind of get the image in your head that if they could be bothered programming it in, they'd have their mobility sound. Like, you can have these have a mobility sound, play a sound like while they're moving. You'd get the impression that if they could, their mobility sound would just be them saying repeatedly, I'm better than you! I'm better than you! I'm
saving the world! I'm saving the world! I'm saving the world!
Precisely. That is pretty much exactly what I'm talking about in dealing with these.
SpaceX! SpaceX!
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we know.
And it's that they deserve this reputation. And again, these people before they own these cars would probably drive entirely and completely different. And I am victim to it as well, because I have at one point or another worked for a dealership or two that was of a higher quality. And more than once or twice they said, hey, as a lot manager, why don't you just, like, you can just drive this home. It needs some miles put on it to clear some codes. Take it with you. And it wasn't quite one of the nice E46 M3s. It was later on when it went to a sedan, and they went to the V8. But still, I drove differently from driving my normal beat 'em up commuter to then stepping into this thing. I was a bit more of a jerk. So they absolutely deserve the reputation they get. The people that drive them have a tendency to, I don't know, I guess, feel more enabled by them, and therefore tend to leave courtesy behind.
Yeah. And part of it is just the fact that you can get into smaller gaps in traffic, so you're gonna. But the problem is, a lot of these folks don't make the extra consideration that, say, people who motorcycle do. And as a result, they jump into gaps in traffic and then hit the brakes. And you're like, what are you doing? The car in front of you was going faster than you were. You just needed to slow down. You didn't need to slow down to 5 miles an hour less than the car in front of you.
Yeah, that's a whole nother kind of pet peeve. It's like, you could have just moved over. Yeah. But I mean, I hate to paint anybody with a brush here, but Tamarack, you've owned a BMW, haven't you?
I have. And in fact, I can speak to the turn signal thing. That was my actual car, a 2013 335xi. It was wonderful. But the turn signals were stupid. When you turn the turn signal on, it does not stay down. It returns to center. So if you go to tap your turn signal down to switch lanes, it would sometimes get stuck. And then to cancel it, you had to switch it back up. But if you went too far, now it's stuck the other way. I never had a problem with this. I figured it out pretty quickly, but apparently BMW owners cannot be bothered, so they just don't bother.
Yeah, just completely ignore that little stalk sticking out from the side of the column.
What they need to do, I've actually encountered this in a number of European cars because the whole Astra here, which is an Opel Astra, does the same thing. What they really need to do is they need to introduce a detent, a deep detent. So if you just flick it, it'll go 3.
Yes.
But you got to click it over the detent in order to make it keep going until you've gone around a corner. It really wouldn't be hard, and I have no idea why no one's done it.
Yeah,
no, that's exactly what it. That's exactly what it did. It did have 2 detents.
The detent's not nearly deep enough. Like, I mean, it should.
No, it's not.
The stick should practically move around a corner. Like, it's really silly. I don't understand why they've made it so soft. It's like you can barely feel it. If you're doing it with 3 fingers, you're not going to feel it at all. If you're doing it with 2 or 1 fingers, you'll feel it.
It is because the Germans have finesse.
And actually, I can say that is one thing I can definitely give credit to Ford for, and my work truck. I drive an F-250 on the daily, and yeah, it is very, very easy to tell when I want to do a one bit down, so it does just 3 clicks to change a lane. To actually put that to a turn signal, it is a force of effort. You can tell there's almost resistance that builds as you get close to that final hump that goes over into now the turn signal is just on. And they did that very, very well in that truck.
And I can say, do not criticize BMW drivers for speeding, because that particular car, they're so stable and so comfortable and so well built. At speed, you feel like you're going very slowly.
Oh, yes, of course. The build quality is so superior.
It
That's
is.
what you use cruise control for.
But it doesn't feel as if you're going that fast. So I can speak to that in their defense, but it's still unexcusable. Watch your speed.
Yep. So next on up then, I guess, would be you, Tam. What do you want to hit first?
That would be me. And I am going to talk about the Toyota Prius. It gets a lot of hate from the automotive community. So Exhibit A.
It's an
let's
egg.
check out some memes.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, sure.
Let's look at some memes. The Supra. We have to go back.
That is a very pretty looking one too.
It is.
That's the bonnet on that's off the GT3000 body kit.
Yep, because that was the same one that they had in the one from the Fast and the Furious.
Which
well,
obviously
imagine that.
got overnighted from Japan.
Yep, overnight parts from Japan.
And the next meme.
Oh dear, hold on. Let me give a little boost.
Yep, they're notorious for that.
Yes, yes. Oh, good lord, no.
Oh god.
I'm hitting buttons. I don't know what they are. See, this is what happens when I hit buttons. Not wrong.
And next.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Also, our heads are obscuring that one, by the way.
Laid? Question mark? With your sister?
I mean, yeah.
That said, that Camaro with that paint job, yes, please.
Yeah, actually, that does look great with the black top and silver body. Yeah, I'm into that.
Zeta Camaro too.
Clarkson.
Of course. Irreverent as ever.
So yeah, they get a lot of hate from the automotive enthusiast community. So this is going to be a controversial take. So I'm going to just come out and say it. Lay off the Prius. So before you demand that I revoke my enthusiast card, hear me out. They've gotten a lot nicer looking. Exhibit number 2.
Number 2. That is actually quite nice.
That looks fine. And look at the interior, number 3. That looks nice.
It's clean. I don't
It
like
looks like
the
a
fact
nice
that it's
place
got
to
a centered dash, or the information is centered on the dash instead of driver centric. But
We'll talk about that soon. But as far as a daily driver, it may be the best one in existence. If you're just commuting back and forth to work, it's everything you need. It'll get you there, it'll sip gas, and you can take stuff and people with you on vacation.
speaking to that, I haven't seen it as much around where I presently live. But I will tell you that at least in the Seattle area, there were a lot of these driving around, and none of those people were trying to hypermile them. They just knew it got better gas mileage, so it meant they could keep their foot down longer.
Well, we'll talk about them later. But
Here,
they're not.
No,
Go ahead.
no, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say it's not fast, it's not exciting, but it wasn't made to be. And they made it in a wagon, the Prius 5.
Yeah, the Prius 5. I was about to say ideal daily. God damn.
Brilliant.
True.
I would have one of those.
So would I, but they're all expensive because guess what? They're a good car.
Yep.
They are. But they're an appliance car. My Lincoln is an appliance car. If I want something exciting, I'll just drive my motorcycle when it's working.
Wasn't going to say
Still in
anything,
the
but yeah.
morning period.
But yeah, they look weird. Yes, you'll get some gay jokes, but let's be honest, we're furries, we're used to that sort of thing, and in most cases you just say yeah and.
Yeah, you're spot on, actually.
Actually, I am.
I thought it was awfully funny the time I diffused a kid who was going on about how I was gay and kept going back to it. And I eventually just said, what's your point?
Yeah, what's your point? So, if you're like me and the Prius is to cars what Linkin Park is to metalheads,
Yeah.
you can have one and look rich by just getting a Lexus CT200H.
Let's put a
Same
suit
car?
on it.
Same car, none of the stigma, all in a luxury wrapper. And look at the interior. The gauges are even in the right place.
Admittedly, I have looked at CT200Hs as a viable option for a daily driver as well.
They're fantastic.
As they're relatively
So-
affordable at this point still.
But most of the people who bag on the Prius, it isn't the fault of the car, it's for the idiot who's driving it. If you put one in the hands of a competent driver, no one will notice you. Because you wouldn't be clogging up the passing lane doing 5 under the speed limit or passing people on the shoulder.
One of the funniest things I've noticed is locally the Priuses, especially the Prius V, have retained more value equivalent than the CT200Hs. As a result, I can get a CT200H for about $2,000 more than a Prius 5. No one knows what they are. It's great.
Yeah, no, they're relatively unknown. I think there's still some disassociation between like, oh, Lexus equals Toyota. But I do have to point out, especially on this one particular one that I have on screen right now, it looks like it's an auto show, and I know they're going for styling, but I would not have put that badge on a hybrid. Just saying.
Oh, it deserves the F Sport badge. Come on.
The hybrid part isn't what gets me. The fact is, it's not a performance hybrid. Like, if it was a Crown Athlete hybrid, you could put an F badge on it if you sold it with a Lexus badge.
Yeah. But
Other hybrids that you can get, if you're in Australia, for instance, now eligible for import is the Corolla Fielder hybrid, which is a cool little wagon. It's basically a Corolla, except instead of a sedan body or a hatch, it's a sedan body that's extended slightly into a wagon. And yeah, they come in hybrid flavor. Corolla Fielder, like the, yeah, there you go, hybrid.
I clicked hybrid. It's fancy
Yeah,
and
that
purple.
looks fine. I'd have that.
Yeah, it's a proper wagon. I actually like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then the purple, oh, the blue looks quite good.
Yeah, it's just a little wagon. And they're really, really good.
Yeah, that's proper. I'd have that.
So, automotive enthusiasts, lay off the Prius.
Weirdly enough, some of those have been showing up as taxis here.
I could see that. Great for airport taxi.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we're coming back around, I'm assuming?
Back
around
around
to the Australia disc.
Back down under. Yes. Now, these deserve it all. And I'm really sorry to one of our fans who I'm pretty sure will be watching either now or later because he's got one. But yeah, they start life looking fairly innocent. These things are fine. If you see this, it probably belongs to a mine, or maybe it's just a rental truck, or maybe it's just a family vehicle and they just
Armor.
Ute. Nah, farmer would get a tray back and it'd be a 2-door. They're pretty solitary animals. But then they get bought by a tradie and they turn into this. Every time they get lifted on big wheels and they get a toolbox, which is fine and all, except it reduces their rearward visibility. And despite the fact that they're only ever on duty in the city, they get a stupid bull bar and stupid underbars and light bars and roof racks. And as a result, they think they're top shit. They're lifted off the ground, running around, changing lanes at 100 k's an hour, throwing Woodstock cans at people, and frankly, I'm sick of the things.
And become the enemy of motorcyclists everywhere.
Absolutely. Change lanes at the drop of a hat with no indicator to take an exit you had no idea they were gunning for, because they were driving in a straight line only moments before. Constantly on their phone, and I don't mean on their phone on the Bluetooth, which is in every single one of them. But on their phone with their phone in their goddamn hand up against the side of their head.
Sounds about right.
Gotta get that next job.
I'm pretty sure the mirrors are just there for aesthetic purposes too, because I've never seen them use the bloody things. You can come steaming up behind them at 110 k's an hour while they're doing 80 and they'll just swerve straight in front of you.
Kaji, tell us how you feel. How does the truck make you feel?
The truck is innocent. All vehicles are innocent. To quote Bully from the movie Driving Miss Daisy, cars don't behave, they are behaved upon. But unfortunately, these get behaved upon by idiots, exclusively. If it looks like this, you can guarantee it's being driven by someone who had an iced coffee and a cigarette for breakfast.
Hey, I feel personally attacked again.
I was about to say, you're speaking to my past there.
An iced coffee and a cigarette for breakfast is a little bit different in Australia, because an iced coffee here is a big-ass milk drink with a whole bunch of sugar, because they can't admit that they're not secretly children.
You just described Dunkin' Donuts. You just offended everyone in New England in the United States.
Yeah, but at least they're buying something hot. These guys are just wandering into a service station and buying a Dare iced coffee and a sausage roll, if they buy any food at all. Because they can't be bothered with the tiniest bit of human interaction because they're enormous misanthropes. But yes, these things. Good God. If I could Thanos snap a single vehicle out of existence, it'd be this. You know why? There's a better alternative. Mind showing it for me, Yotie?
Yeah, give me a second to bring that one up. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you, because you know what? I have driven these things personally. They're a frickin' delight.
Fine, they get into tight spots much better too.
That is true.
Yeah.
Way better visibility.
The NPR.
Dear tradies, buy a real truck and stop pretending. Stop having to drag a trailer behind your bloody dual cab ute because there's not enough room in your toolboxes and there's no room for your gear. Buy a truck. Buy a real goddamn truck. They're the same amount of money after you spend $30,000 on your stupid little toys.
Not only that, they are way easier to work on.
They really are. Flip the cab forward and you're ready to go.
You can sit on the tire and do a head job.
Yeah, you really can. Like, just buy a truck, for the love of God. Stop leaving pieces of lumber hanging 3 foot off the back of your truck. Stop dragging trailers around and forgetting they're there and cutting me off and making me emergency brake. Stop dragging your shit through bus lanes. Just for the love of God, buy a real truck, please, and stop driving like an idiot.
Mostly stop driving like an idiot.
Nah, they should really also buy a real truck. Like, the fact of the matter is, if you're buying something because it's going to be good on the weekends and good during the week, you're sacrificing at both ends. It's always a compromise. Get yourself one of these and get yourself a Jimny, and you will have the best time of your life. You won't have to worry about taking everything out of the toolboxes and putting everything back into the toolboxes. You can just have your weekend car, and you can write this off on your business. So don't pretend like the extra $30,000 you spend on your bloody Ranger after you buy it to quote unquote bring it up to spec isn't going to make it cost the same as a long body truck. Just buy a truck. Buy an NPR, buy a Fuso Fighter, buy an Iveco Daily, buy whatever you want. Just please buy a real truck.
Kaji has feelings on this.
Yes. Very clearly so. But I can't blame him, because I'd rather see an Isuzu on the road, because at least I know that might not be driven by somebody that owns it, and therefore they might care if they get into an accident, because it could mean they get fired. So they're maybe a little more careful as well, versus those other ones of, yeah, I could see, absolutely. That looks like a private business owner who's gotten all these toys and is going to write the entire thing off, and he drives like a jerk. And yeah, no, I can see that.
Yup. Probably the thing that absolutely cemented the image of the dual cab ute as a tradie, as in specifically a tradie kitted one, in my mind, was the time when one cut me off, gave me the finger after throwing a can at me out through the window, and then locked up and went into a pole. Like...
Instant karma.
Yeah, but the fact that all of those things happened in such a short amount of time, like he chucks a Woodstock can at me, and gives me the finger while cutting in front of me, then locks up trying to make a left-hand turn and takes out a pole. Like, come on.
Congratulations, you just personified everything that's wrong with your vehicle.
Yep.
And I've been binge watching dash cam videos lately, so I'm pretty sure I've seen a few of those.
Yeah, you would have. Swinging trailers around where they don't belong. But anyway, that's enough ranting.
Before Kaji has an aneurysm, Yotie, what have you brought us for your second feature?
My second feature. Now, I will preface this with the fact that I have owned several myself. I have owned... It wasn't the same body style. It was the body style before the one I'm going to yell about. But I had a 72, a 74, and I think an 82 or an 83. But they do not deserve the reputation they have. They do not deserve the hype. The only reason that they have what they do, and the only reason that people love them for what they are, is because they used the same look for almost 30 frickin' years. It's the square body Chevy.
Gorgeous. Want it.
I mean, given, like I said, I wanted to find a picture, an example of one, and it's like, oh, that's pretty. I actually do like that a lot. I like the look a lot. The style is there. The look is there. It's got a nice look to it. And again, I've owned several. I've driven these trucks around. But truth be told, the suspension's terrible stock. The 350s aren't that good, especially if you're in the smog era and the malaise trucks. The body construction, they made it cheap to produce. Because, again, they're using the same dies and everything for, you know, from 1973, I think, was the first year that the square bodies came out. All the way up to somewhere in 1988, 89, somewhere in there, before they changed to the 90s. It was this, with some minor facelifts. The taillight stayed the same. So
that's taking the piss even by Ford's standards.
But not only that, the crash protection on these things was terrible. If you got T-boned in one of these, you're not even, you're just dead. The cab corners, the sills always rust out and reduce your integrity. And there are multitudes of problems with them. And it's not only something where, oh yeah, old truck, yeah, it's been around for a while, it's going to have problems. What do you expect? A restored edition, fully restored, ground up, had a fail at Mecum that was built into the design. There is a notch out of the hood where if the springs are too strong, it will bend the sheet metal of the hood.
Oh no.
So you turn into a taco.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the Tacoma.
Yes, and the Tacomas are delightful vehicles. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Toyota fanboy. But
I actually saw that a few times in the States and had to ask someone what's with the Chevys with all the bent hoods. I had no idea that was a thing.
yeah, there's actually, I don't have a great picture of it, but right where that little bend is, you see how all along here it's metal, 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 metal. All up here it's metal, 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 metal. Right there is about an inch long where it dips upwards right to the flat portion of the hood and then dips back down, so it loses all of that rigidity. And so if you install new springs on your old hood, or even a new hood, you'd best be very careful.
I've never seen that, but I will be looking for it.
Yeah, it's inherently a flaw. But at the same time, they don't deserve the hype they get. I think, if anything, probably the older 150s deserve more hype. Some of your, like, let's see, if you can still find them, Datsun trucks are a freaking delight if you're into small cars that get slammed onto the ground. They're great for that. Like, there's
Slam a hard body onto its guts, you have a winner.
Absolutely.
If I may.
Yeah.
A big bonus about the F-Series trucks as opposed to this generation of Chevys is actually the suspension. Front suspension, to be precise. Whilst it's not amazing at quite high speeds on very bumpy roads, under all other circumstances, the twin I-beam's actually really good.
Yeah, not only that, actually, one thing I will say, well, first of all, bias because you have one. But
no, I just know a lot about them both. I really wanted a square body first, and then I got an F truck, and I was like, oh,
hey,
this is good.
Yeah. But actually, just harking back to, again, if you've been in the automotive community for any amount of time and you've watched any amount of shows, then you have undoubtedly seen the mixed bag that is Gas Monkey Garage. Now, one of the things that they're really, really good for, and they were famous for, yes, I know Richard Rollins is kind of a showboat, and he's
a tool.
Yeah, he's a tool bag. But one of the things that they did several times over that works out very well and is a great, I guess, recipe for a great F truck is if you take a nice, decent-looking F truck, you can rip off the front suspension and throw a Crown Victoria suspension at it. Front.
Yep.
That build was brilliant.
Yeah, and it's, okay, hey, you've got all of your modern parts, you've got stuff you can just walk up to a parts counter and order, more reliability, more control, better weight distribution and handling, and you don't have to change the world.
Another thing you can do is there's on F trucks, because they've got a fairly narrow front frame because of the twin I-beam suspension. You're not just stuck with Crown Vic front ends either. You can use Jaguar front ends, Mustang 2 front ends, Falcon front ends, because it's car width up there. So you can stick an entire subframe under there of your choosing, pretty much.
Which, I mean, it just makes it probably a more viable candidate. But you know what? These will never die. And I have to say, they're never going to go away. And that's because, partly, they're about as popular as the F trucks, if not maybe a little more so, especially now with the current market. And it's because it's, when you think of truck, when you have a kid draw truck, it is this shape. It is
well and true.
what you think of when you think of truck. And also the fact that LMC catalogs are going to keep these things alive, running, and bopping around town for an innumerable amount of years.
These things are hot enough that it's taking the heat off dent side and bump side Fords. So, listeners, if you want yourself a fun American truck of that era, dent sides and bump sides, go get them. They're cheap.
Yep. So those are all of my points, all of my rants. That's what I have. I've said my piece. I've even owned a couple, but my God, they're overrated.
All right,
10.
so I will close it out.
Going on to what you want first. One?
Yep, so mine is going to be 4-cylinder muscle cars, specifically the Mustang and the Camaro. So, beginning with the Camaro, you have a 2-liter 4-cylinder. This is the RS version I'm speaking of. Making 275 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds in a 6-speed manual. Then you have the Mustang. This is the 2022 models. 310 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 also in about 5 seconds, also available with a manual. Enthusiasts always bag on these because it's not the V8 and it's just a turbo 4-cylinder. But why? You're in Subaru STI territory as far as power goes, and people shit all over them, but it's a 4-cylinder with a turbo on it, rear-wheel drive sports car, such as the Nissan Silvia GT86, MX-5, the Mitsubishi Starion. Car enthusiasts love those cars. Why do these get the hate?
They are a bigger class of car than a lot of those cars, but at the same time, that also means you get usable rear seats, you get more trunk space. In the United States, at least, you're not underneath the window line of every single truck.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of helpful. Also, it's worth noting that the high performance package gets you another 20 horsepower and 3,000 RPM. All of your torque is there, right up to redline.
Yep, and I gave Yotie a couple of other pictures of those that he can flash up real quick, just for examples. There's the Camaro.
That's a handsome looking thing.
Good God.
You get the looks.
You still have zero visibility out of it, but it's a handsome looking thing.
Oh, the visibility is awful.
It's fine. I drive a van.
A very close friend of mine has an RS Camaro with a 6-speed, and on his most recent visit, he let me drive it, and it was absolutely fantastic. I had so much fun driving that car and ringing that little 2-liter through all its gears, and it handles amazingly. I believe Kaji will be able to tell us what platform it's built on.
They're built on an updated Sigma platform.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the one. But it handled brilliantly, and it had plenty of power to keep the average commuter deeply entertained, and you can still take it cross-country and get good gas mileage. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. In the same category as these, I would say, is a few years ago, the V6, quote-unquote, muscle cars, pony cars. Everyone bagged the Camaro RS. I drove one when I was over in 2014. And yeah, the Zeta platform meant that it had absolutely outstanding handling, and the power was all there. Like, it's 320 horse. How much do you want?
Yeah, how much do you need on your daily commute?
Like, I get everyone wants 450 horsepower, but the fact of the matter is, as soon as you go over about 300 horsepower, it's a sometimes food anyway. Like,
You can't always use it.
No, I'm building my Mustang with an eye towards making 300 horsepower from its 5.8 liter. But these things are making 310 or 330 or 300 horsepower even from 2 to 2.3 liters and a turbocharger. Like, good God.
And they're very tunable. You can strap a bigger turbo on it, bigger intercoolers, tuning.
Injectors,
The
fuel
potential is
pump.
Yeah. With the EcoBoost, it's kind of difficult to replace the turbocharger, but at the same time, the stock turbocharger's got the ability to go up to about, I think it's 450 horse, something like that.
All day. And I think people forget this is not a new idea. If you recall, there was the Fox body variant, the Mustang SVO.
Yes. They
Also,
need to, like, why didn't they call the EcoBoost performance package the SVO?
I know, that would have been a great callback.
They missed an opportunity there.
They
I
should
would
release
love
that, or I mean,
to have one of those.
Another great
And
example of these and that kind of style of car, just another great example of those is, and it's another Ford example actually, was the good old Thunderbird Super Coupe.
Yeah, the Super Coupe.
But I would love to have one of those and resto mod it with a modern EcoBoost out of the Mustang or the Focus RS. You would have a mean machine.
That'd be pretty wicked.
But yeah, just because it came with a V8 and that was the ultimate package, for the everyman, the 4-cylinder's really all you need to have a great time.
What I think is kind of funny is we've actually stepped backwards a little bit in this case, because during the 1980s, V6 turbo power had more cachet than V8s did. Like, just look at the Grand National, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. Ain't nothing fast like a Grand Nash.
I still love the fact I had McLaren come on board for the GNX. That's just cool.
But yeah, that's my rant is look at what you need, not what's available.
Even what you want, like 310 horsepower is more than you used to get in a Mustang GT until what, 1999?
Probably.
Something like that.
Yeah, my MKZ has a V6 making 268-ish horsepower. There are rare times where I'm called upon to use all of it.
Goodness.
Yep. Pretty rare. No, correction. Sorry, a 1999 Mustang only makes 260 horsepower.
There is that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look just what kind of ponies did my current daily driver originally come with. I kind of don't want to know.
And how
My
many
van
have
had
escaped?
85.
245, and man, let me tell you, that V6 will get out of its own way. And it's in a much heavier car than anything we've been looking at here.
It turns out the 3-valve modular is when you got 300 horsepower, and it's literally just 300 horsepower. So that's 2005, 2004, 2005.
Yeah,
So that's
they're
15 years ago.
They're perfectly fine. Stop hating on them.
Yeah.
They do great things with not a whole lot, and they still don't break your bank when you're going to fill up the tank.
5 seconds to 100 k's an hour is Testarossa territory.
Oh, Testarossa
as well. So, I would say we would open this up to the chat, but we have no one in the chat.
We've got a couple of people that are hanging out in there, but we'll give them a few minutes and start kind of wrapping things up and see if anybody has anything to chime in on or quip up about as to anything we've discussed so far today.
Yeah, by all means, and if you're watching this on the YouTube, please drop your comments below and we'll talk about it next week if you have some opinions that you agree or disagree with us.
Yeah, and speaking of next week, I think I'm up next in rotation, right?
Yes, the Yotie will be up again next week. So, have you given any thought to what topic we shall speak of?
Not as of yet.
Suggestions from chat.
Yeah, that could be a good thing. Hey, suggestions. What do you guys want to see? You can either leave that either in our chat here actively, or if you're watching later on the YouTube, we always do check comments on those. So leave it there. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see, what kind of things you think might be interesting. And let's see.
While we wait for comments in the chat, let us thank our friend of the show and artist who made our logo, Yagoda. throw her card up there
Oh, you're gonna make me do this again.
in the thing because Yotie was totally prepared.
I was
for
so
this,
super
and I'm
prepared.
just filling it. There it is.
All right.
That is who did our background here. Wonderful, wonderful job. The colors pop. It's clean. Nice bold lines. I dig it. Everything's very good there.
And the music you've been hearing was brought to us by...
All of our music today is going to be brought to us by Walking Dog Music. Let me actually go ahead and pull them up as well. So they are DMCA free. They are copyright free. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're making, whatever you're listening to at any given point, you're never going to get a copyright strike because everything they do for you for free for streamers. So get out there and listen to it. Also, they now have been experimenting with an actual 24/7 station. So you can just pop that on, leave it in the background, and let it roll.
I guarantee that will be on at work while I'm banging on an airplane with a hammer this week.
I've got to put a machine in the shed for some other reasons, so it might actually be cycling that as well now too.
It's pretty chill stuff. It may actually even save you from throwing that spanner across the garage.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I understand that entirely. Wishful thinking.
You have to hit the volume button somehow when you're far away from it.
Yeah, that's
well,
my
no, when the
excuse.
cursing gets louder than the music, that's when you know it's time.
Oh, with me, it's the other way around. If I go quiet, Tem's seen that.
I have done. Kaji, you okay?
Yes, quiet Kaji is angry Kaji.
Good to know, actually. I'll have to remember that one for my own safety.
Yes, do. Take cover if the noise stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always talking to myself, so if I've got nothing nice to say to myself, you can say it's a pretty bad thing.
So,
Right.
on that note, we have no
chat this time
activity
around.
in the chat right now, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Please join us next week when the Yotie will be hosting us again and bringing us some interesting topic from somewhere.
I'll think of
Once
something to throw you
again-
for a loop.
Once again, thanks to our loyal shop dog. Thank you once again for your help.
As always. Ever there, ever helpful, ever very good with the reviews for us, too. It's been excellent.
Yeah.
Herding the sheeps for us.
Indeed.
Barking at things that need to be barked at, nipping at things that need nipping.
That's all things, though.
In our
Says
world,
you.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right.
So, on that note, everyone have a wonderful week. We'll see you next Sunday for the worship service of the 710 cast.
Monday at midday if you're in Australia.
Thank
the
you
East
so much,
Coast,
everybody.
anyway.
There goes that Northern Hemisphere chauvinism again. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you again.
Good night.